All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our October 8th regular scheduled meeting. 7 o'clock. Please join the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for
One
all.
nation, God, indivisible.
Cindy, is there that much of a delay? Thank you. All right. There's no public comments here. Any correspondence?
No.
No correspondence. Flying right through.
I'd like to make a motion to.
All right. So we have consideration for the minutes of August 13th. Everybody have a minute, had time to review them? John,
I'll make a
Mike?
motion.
A minute.
Will, you made a motion and Cynthia seconded for the minutes of,
Yes.
again, it was August 13th. 13th of August. Yeah. Okay. Any
Thank
other
you.
comments? Bob, you doing 13th? Everybody good?
Yep.
All in favor, saying aye? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right. So the last thing on our agenda is the comptroller's report.
All right, so
Oh.
September 30th preliminary
Yeah.
controllers report. Start with the revenue. Interest, we're already at 699,000. That doesn't include like 30,000 that we hadn't booked at the time of this for some of the smaller accounts. Obviously, we knew that we were going to go over in interest, even with the Fed cut. We're still getting close to 5% interest. I think at the end of September, it was like 4.8, 4.9. We know that there's the state cut our ECS by 200,000. Sorry, they reallocated ECS away from Bethel to the tune of 200,000. So we know that's a revenue shortfall already. And we know, well, we know that utilities is going to be a problem this year again. I'm sure everybody has probably seen Dan's update and heard what's going on with PURA. In essence, the PURA allowed Eversource to add like a 5%, not 5%, 5-cent delivery charge per kilowatt hour in a couple of different ways, but on the delivery charge. The town of Bethel does 8 million kilowatt hours a year. So that's $400,000 hit to us. If it's over 12 months, it's supposed to be over 10. But who knows what they do month 11 and 12. So
Right. This is the public benefit that everybody is upset about. It's not a new thing.
yeah, this is the public benefit. There's two pieces of it that Dan knows better because Dan and I sat in his office one day going through each what it does. When we look at the expenses for utilities yet, they look great, but the bills trail, right? So right now we're in wait and see. Obviously, we're going to track to see what happens with some of the other expenses. We have some open positions that one we're not even looking for right now. We're not in like a spending freeze at this point, but Dan and I are cognizant of, and we had a department, Dan and I are cognizant of this hole that we're probably gonna have to deal with at some point. We're not on a spending freeze, but we did in the department head meeting today go, we're only doing the absolute needs, which is kind of how we try to go through most of the year anyway to see how the year's going. I don't think we're at the point that we should do a budget adjustment to the revenue or anything. It's too early. But
The
this
revenue
board,
number we carried was 560 or something?
for interest, we carried 650 and we've come in at 699 right now. But it's really like 725 when we book some of the smaller accounts. For
The number you
There's still a 375,000 shortfall in October when the budget ends next July.
Yes, it's early, so
We have
the
time.
good thing about it being early, we have time to try to mitigate some of the damage, but we also don't want to like go crazy because we know what we think the revenue piece on the interest side will make it up. We finished 24 in a really good spot with health insurance. We have some vacancies, so not only are you not paying salary, a family plan costs the town like $30,000 a year. So you get a couple family changes, the singles, depending on staff changeover, it makes up quick. You get somebody that leaves that was on single insurance and you hire somebody that is a family, it swings the other way.
There we go.
So, I was saying, Dan just walked in, but so we're super aware of this issue, this expense hole in utilities. We don't know how big the hole is. We don't want to overreact, but we also don't want to miss our chance to like react. You know, like obviously finding out early gives you an opportunity to do some things, but it also, you know, we don't want to. One of the vacancies is I don't know the official title, but pretty much the assistant health director left. That's vacant. That's a position we need to fill. But you got to fill it with the right person. So right now, we haven't been able to find that right person.
So we're not using that
So the
salary.
longer that takes, it's bad for the health department, but budget-wise, it helps us a little bit. But we need to fill that position. Our data processing or IT person left, I think in April. We hired who was the assistant. They don't make quite yet what the person that left was making, and we haven't rehired the assistant position yet because it's an opportunity to look at how we want to run that department. You know, like a couple of changes aren't enough to fill a $400,000 hole, but if health insurance comes in good, you know, like
More interest revenue.
yeah, unfortunately, we can't just go, oh, we got more interest without then having a budget adjustment if things turn bad. But we are trying to, on the expense side, mitigate as much as we can without going, oh, we gotta really like mess health up by not trying to hire that position because we run pretty clean anyway. So it's
If
hard.
it's needed, you gotta fill it. I get it.
And for better or worse, we've been trying to run for the last couple of years much tighter budgets to keep our mill rate as tight as we can. Which is good when things kind of break even, we have a good year. Right now, it'll move a little bit with the audit. We're closer to 400, but we're probably easily going to be $300,000 to the good in 2024. The year before, we were over until we got down to the final numbers. So the year before, we were 40,000 to the good. So we run tight budgets.
Right.
So there's not a lot of room right now, but it's kind of too early to know
It's way
exactly.
too early.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
but again, now's the time to try to manage what you can manage to control it.
I mean, revenue could be up in Park and Rec. And so, but there's nothing for us to do because you're just watching it behind the scenes. And
Until we
when
have to make
we get
decisions.
closer to July, you'll know that the accounts have more than they're gonna spend or
Yeah.
less.
If we have to come and suggest a budget adjustment, we're not gonna wait till June.
We'd have to make adjustments.
Well, okay, we make the adjustment, but it's coming out of the line items that we
In
feel like.
theory, assuming the Fed doesn't drastically cut up interest rates, there's gonna be a revenue side. The other piece that we're working on now is, we're starting the process of refunding some of our outstanding debt. We have an opportunity. A couple weeks ago, the estimate was closer to 3 million. Now the estimate was 2.3. Realistically, and this is over 15 years, realistically, we're gonna save over 15 years. Let's go low end and go at least $1.5 million, which would be to the tune, let's call it 100,000 a year. But that is 75-25 general fund, the sewer, the general fund being 75% of that. The last estimate we got from our financial advisor was $170,000 savings in year one this year that we're currently in. If you do the 75-25, let's call it like 130 and 45 or whatever that math works out.
And what was the fee to do this?
So the fee with a refunding goes into the bonding amount because they'll give us a premium. So
we're
what
not
happens
cashing
is
it.
it's like 30,500,000 our outstanding debt that we're looking to refinance. So because they want a higher interest rate in the later years, they'll pay you money up front to have you pay more interest later, which we did last time. So of that money they'll pay us. The fees will come out of it. The fee is like 75 to 100 grand to do it. So they'll pay that. Plus then if we owe 30.5 and say we get $1.1 million in this premium, our outstanding debt will go from 30.5 to 29.5. So that might be, let's call it, we might get $100,000 debt relief in 25. That would help fill some of
But
the
not
hole
for
in
24 that we're working on.
25 is the year we're working on. Because right now,
Or 24, 25, yeah. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
So if we have a $400,000 or $500,000 shortfall in utility, 100,000 of it might be debt
Just from that, yeah.
without us doing anything other than refinancing it to save money long term. So at this point, what I need from the Board of Finance is just be aware of it, obviously. You know, and I know Nick and I, we've talked a lot about it. I've lost a lot of sleep over it. I didn't lose any hair though, luckily.
But, I mean, Brad, I mean,
Big number.
we're just not jumping on that because we're trying to pick up some revenue. It's the right thing to do anyway.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
fair?
we're trying,
Sorry.
yeah, we're being proactive in our thinking, but not proactive in our action, right?
Right.
Like we don't need to act right now, but proactively we're thinking about how we can mitigate it as best we can. You know, we don't want to go back to the public and say we need to do this. But obviously, there's a reason everybody's utility went through the roof in July, and some of it, July was really hot. You know,
The pool pumps and everybody got hammered, you know, so.
so we're watching it.
I was just comment, it's worth also mentioning, we haven't really hit the September bill yet, because it went in again in September, and in January, there's likely gonna be an increase. So,
Another increase on top of.
because normally,
I did.
because these are all the delivery
was a step
charges went up,
forward.
right, delivery charges went up.
Yep.
And then in September, there was an additional delivery charge, because Pura looked back at their decision and added the money for, electric, vehicle charging infrastructure, with an $80 million add. So that didn't hit until sometime in September, so I haven't even seen that number yet. That's delivery. January, usually supply side goes, oh, that, we're good.
So I won't affect us.
Thank you to him, because he's been locked in for some period of time, so we'll get right there.
Yeah, actually, Kozlowski was still here because we locked in for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
So we're locked in through December of 25. So halfway of budget year 26.
Yeah.
But Dan and I have already spent the last 2 months stressing about the 26 budget.
Yeah.
Because utilities is going to be up a lot.
And we just got notified that Yankee Gas is applying to Pura for a rate increase
Of course they are.
effective November of 2025, November 1, 2025.
Yeah.
So that's our 26 budget. Who knows what that'll be, but
Yeah.
we're watching for it.
So
They're covering a 200 million shortfall, so feeling it might be significant.
Spreading that right out.
So, but again, I wouldn't be doing my job if I wasn't having the conversations with you now.
Definitely.
And like, because we didn't have a September meeting, well, you and I had talked about it before,
Yeah,
but we would have brought it.
But not as a group, right?
Yeah,
of
So,
course.
and I'll probably bring it up. I know we're missing James tonight and whoever replaces D. So at some point, either I will meet individually with them or we'll just bring it up quickly at a future meeting.
Yeah, of
just
course,
so
just to
that
get them up to speed, of course.
But again, right now, we're not asking for a budget adjustment. It's way too early for that. But it may be coming. We hope not. We hope we can mitigate all of it. We were kind of hoping the state would get together and go, hey, Pura, relook at this. You know,
They chose not to.
they chose.
But the
not-
number's 400 and there's gonna be a little more sprinkle on top of that.
Well, that's what we think.
Yeah.
You know,
And
once we get
that's
it.
just in additional delivery. If we have a really bad cold winter, we could have another
It only
utility
escalates
problem
even
with
more,
that.
right?
We've already had the middle school issue that they've been running the heat and the AC over the
Trying to
summer.
drive that public up. Yeah.
So we're already have that, which we don't know how much that's costing us.
But the majority of that's been billed already, right? I would think.
It has, but we haven't really started. The timing of the bill is you gotta kind of wait till you get enough
One
in.
day and all that.
We're kind of at the point, as we mentioned already, we start budget reviews, all the department heads.
Yeah. Brad mentioned.
So let us stay on top of it.
Yeah.
So that's all started now. We'll recap all the electric costs and all that as well. And stuff from the storm, we'll start talking about too, because we know we're gonna have some higher contract services budgets because it won't be dealing with the storm. And some of that may come back from FEMA. We don't know yet. But big fixes there that we're gonna have to work on.
We were very lucky compared to a lot of communities, you know,
Oh, gosh, yeah.
whatever, you know, some tree damage or some
Yeah.
side of the road.
We definitely have we have some long-term things. I'll tell you this, one of them is McCower Circle. Basically what happened was the flooding literally took rock and ran it to the point now it's full and we have to literally dig up a
You can't-
huge section and then put a new one down. It's a $300,000 job. We seem to think FEMA's gonna help us out with that. I don't know for sure how much and when and all that. And there are a couple other places where we have to look whether or not we're gonna do flood mitigation. We have some significant spots. Again, not gonna break the back. We were totally lucky with roads. I mean, hats off to Bobby Dibble et al. Because they have reclaimed so many of those roads that when the damage happened, it like chipped away at the side some.
They're solid
But
roads.
it didn't chip all the way through like you see other places.
Solid
Right?
base. Yeah.
Yeah, really, really impressive. Like, to me,
Makes a big difference, right?
big difference. Anyway, enough said. Yeah, not to think.
Mary will speak up, don't worry.
On the expense side, the main thing I want to point out is through the first 3 months of the year, and some of it's timing, could be timing of invoices and stuff like that. Park and Rec has spent $668,000. Through the first 3 months of last year, they spent $787,000. So that's really good too. It's like the fact that costs have gone up because minimum wage has gone up and all that. They're trending way in the right direction year over year. And if you remember, they couldn't really make adjustments to last year's camp by the time that we had our budget issue. This year they did. So I think we're seeing some of that, you know.
I mean, they ran leaner instead of having 3 people in a basketball game. Isn't that what they're
Yes.
trying to do?
So, but now this is the first, they couldn't really make big adjustments for the first 3 months.
Now
of
we're
last
starting to
year.
see that, yeah.
Now we're starting to see that. How that plays out over the year, because I don't know if anybody's seen what the new minimum wage is for January 1. It's like 16.36, whatever. It's up another like 60 cents, and I think they budgeted it going up 46 cents or something. So, but again, I think a credit to what Rachel or her staff and the commission has done. When I looked at that after 2 months, I went, oh, all right. And then after 3 months, you go, okay, you know, like, in a time where there's been a lot of punches to the gut lately when it comes to like expenses between what's going on, what happened at the middle school, what happened with utilities, it was kind of nice to see a win.
That was a good story, right?
So, other than that, the only things that look goofy are the things that usually look goofy, like town insurance. Looks like we've already spent half of it because you make the payments up front. So it's paid quarterly. We've already made 2 quarters of payments. Ones that we paid in September. And I already mentioned that right now, it looks like 24 is going to be good, $300,000+, which we will talk about when we get closer to the time of transfers of what the board wants to do with that. If we want to just let it fall out the fund balance, do we want to put some of it in CNR? Do we, you know, not that we want to fill our, we got the budget for CNR to $1 million for 25, the year we're in. If we didn't want to do a budget adjustment, we could possibly put $300,000 in there from fund balance. That would have fallen out the fund balance from 24, knowing that if we didn't want to go back to the town people, we could only fund CNR this year 700, knowing we already put 300 in from 24. Way too early to figure out how we're going to do some of that, and so we got to get a little further into the
You might cut that energy number in half. You know, you might find
we don't
really recognize
Yeah.
more than, you know, chop that number down.
So what my colleague's suggestion will be to put it in CNR because we have a lot of capital needs. And our fund balance number is healthy, and if it's in CNR, it gives the Board of Finance a little more flexibility to use it as they see fit with their capital needs instead of having to go back to the town meeting. But when we get closer to knowing what that number is, we'll have more conversations about it.
Okay. Any questions for Brad?
No.
Cynthia, any questions? Will?
Nope.
No, I'm good.
Did you-
Is that James on? Yeah.
Oh, is that James?
Hancock.
No, not James Hancock, right?
I didn't know. Yeah.
Someone like to make a motion?
Make a motion that we accept Brad's report as presented tonight.
We have a second, Bob?
I'll second, okay.
I'm sorry. All right, any other
That's all right.
discussion?
I'm-
Let's try to raise money. Everybody in favor? So you're gonna say an aye? Aye.
I,
Excellent, excellent. All right, without anything else on the agenda, I would accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. And second,
second,
Cynthia seconded, thank you.
Yep,
Try to
all
raise-
right.
I'm sorry, Cynthia, did you have something before we quit? Yep.
No, I'm
that's
just
it.
waving my hand. Aye.
Oh,
I'm
so
worried
you're good.
about Hurricane Milton right now because half
Yeah.
of my family has fled Tampa, so I'm a little preoccupied.
It's a scary storm down there with just a
It's-
amount of water.
Apparently the fourth worst in the history of time, so down there.
All right.
All right,
Okay. All
bye-bye.
right, thank you. You vote on it? We voted? Yeah, unanimous.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Will.
Hey, you take care.